Hey, welcome back to the channel. So I've been semi-daily driving the 86 Cutlass 442 here, and there's still a few things that need to be worked out on it. I mean, it's reliable, it's fine, but it's a few little annoying things, and one of them is when it sits overnight and you go to start it, you gotta crank it a lot, 15-20 seconds maybe, before it fires up. So it seems like the fuel, the accelerator pump, I just pressed it down a few times, nothing's coming out of it. So I had already taken this carburetor off last year or the year before, and I had epoxied up those well plugs in the bottom, which are famous for leaking. It did seem like they were leaking, but I epoxied them anyway, so I think it's something else. And I don't know if it's a bad accelerator pump, the little rubber seal on there, or I don't know what else it could be. So anyway, just going to take off just the top plate and should be able to, this is the accelerator pump piston, should be able to get that out. I have another one that's also used, but it's in pretty good shape, so hopefully, if I see it make any kind of difference, I'll know I'm onto the right track. So I'm just going to get all these little torque screws out, get the plate up. So there isn't much gas in here. I mean, last time I drove this was, I don't know, about 2 days ago, maybe 3, and you could see the fuel level is way low. So it would seem like it's maybe evaporating out, because I don't know where it would be leaking from. And I still don't know why it takes so long for it to pump up. I don't know if there's some kind of check ball missing or something. Well, there's supposed to be some check ball somewhere in here to prevent the fuel from draining out of this accelerator well. Okay, so I had to do a little research to find out where this accelerator pump check ball is located. Now, everybody swears by this Cliff Ruggles book on the QJet. I have it. It's never been able to help me. I'm never able to find what I'm looking for in there. I did find mention of the check ball, but didn't really explain where it was. It just said it was in the bottom of the well. So anyway, I have the factory service manual, and apparently there's this little baffle here, and right on the other side of this, under this plastic thing, is where the screw is and the check ball for the accelerator pump circuit. So anyway, to get this out, got to remove this, and I forget what this thing is called right here, but I know it's an adjustment and you don't want to mess with it. So when I back this screw out, I'm going to count the exact amount of turns so I can put it back just the way it was. Alright, that was 13 turns. to come out. Screw on that. Probably would have been better if I just took the carburetor right off the car, because it would have just been easier to get to all these things. I didn't realize I was going to have to take all of these things out. Float and the needle out. All right, I see the screw now. Okay, so right here is the screw, allegedly, for the check ball. I just want to make sure the check ball is there, because theoretically this should not drain, although this is open here and it's all connected. I don't know. I don't know what is going on here. Why is this fuel level so low? I mean, this car was just running the other day. It should be a lot higher. Let me know in the comments. Do you guys like working on carburetors? Do you find it really tedious and frustrating? I've never been good at fixing problems on carburetors, unless it's a Holly. For some reason with a Holly, usually able to get everything going. Not always, but usually. This is why it may sound silly, but I just want to get rid of all of this. But then I got everybody yelling at me saying, oh no, you got to keep it original. Yeah. Here's the check ball. It's definitely there. I don't know if it's going to show up on camera. See it right there. It's attached to the edge of the screwdriver. So the check ball is there and present. So that's not the issue. But I am going to still put a different accelerator pump in. But with this basically no fuel left in the well, I don't think it's going to matter which accelerator pump is in there. It's got nothing to pump. That's why I'm cranking the car. Cranking until the fuel pump fills everything up. I do not have this problem on my 67 Buick, which also has a QJet. It could sit for literally months. You pump the pedal once and it's squirting. So 1 week has gone by and I just uncovered the foil and the gas is just gone. So either it's leaking out somehow or it's evaporating. Either way, that doesn't seem right that would happen so quickly. So I don't know what the deal is with this carburetor, and I really just don't feel like figuring it out. So I don't know what I'm doing next. So bad news about that epoxy job I did. So one of the blobs completely fell off. Actually caught it when I took the carburetor off. And then these other ones here, it's all wet, so there's still gas seeping through. Whatever I did here, it's leaking. But you know, it's going into this crevice, which doesn't appear to lead to anywhere. So maybe it's here. It's where the gas is leaking out of the carburetor when it's sitting. I don't really know. This is one of the blobs that are still on there. Yeah, it doesn't work. JB Weld does not hold up to gasoline. So the way to test if the carburetor well plugs are leaking is soap and water and compressed air. So I put some soapy water on the main. What are these? These are the secondary well plugs, I guess, and the front primary ones. So we're going to blow some air, compressed air, into the tubes. Don't see any bubbles there. Do I see anything? It's dark over here. Light. I don't see any bubbles. I don't see any signs of any leaks. Nothing. So, where is the gas going? How is it getting out? These spots are the only places allegedly it can leak, unless I guess it's this thing. What is this thing? So we'll try to check that one too. I don't know. So it leaks, but I certainly can't figure out where it's coming from. Here's the carburetor repair kit from Rock Auto, which looks okay. But I had also ordered for my '84 Camaro the rear track bar, which mine is, the bushings are shot, so they sell these new ones very cheap with new bushings and everything. And what do they send me? I'm like, what is this? This is not a suspension part. It says Tacoma front bumper. That's not what I ordered. This is what I ordered. So I guess I have time to report a problem, luckily, because this came about 5 days ago and it's working all week, and I'm on the weekend now, I'm just opening it, so I have to go and return this now. Great. Nothing's easy, I tell you. So I'm gonna put a new accelerator pump seal in and put it back together, and I can guarantee it's gonna be no different. It's not gonna fix the problem I have, that's for sure. I'm just getting tired of this tedious type of stuff. And then everyone gets mad at me because I want to change things, and it's like, no, gotta keep it original. Gotta keep it original. And then the original stuff is just garbage. Let's face it. It's 40-year-old garbage, nearly. And getting this carburetor professionally redone is probably $500 or $600. Or if I bought another one, it would be used and it would also have to be redone, so that would be pointless. So yeah, this is why I get burned out on the tedious BS with all the stock crap. It doesn't work right anymore. To be fair, this carburetor I believe was changed at some point, remanufactured, so that's probably part of the problem, but who knows? Who knows? Get the carburetor back together. I ended up, you know, once I opened that rebuild kit, I ended up changing out the needle and seat because the original one looked a little bit worn, the needle, so I put that in. I put the new spring and seal on the accelerator pump, and changed a couple of small gaskets that were in there. Everything else looked alright, so I just put most of the original stuff back. So yeah, so we're gonna give it a try. Not a good sign that it's hesitating when I give it throttle. Shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, so not only do I have a stumble now, which I didn't have before, I've got a check engine light now, which I never had before. Definitely a really bad stumble that was not there before. I can't even imagine what is causing this. Oh man. Oh. That's really messed up. Now what? Alright, so this is pretty weird. So I checked what the codes were, and it came up 13 and 22, which both had to do with the TPS sensor readings off, and that was definitely something that I unplugged and removed from the carburetor when I had it apart, but I put it all back together. So I just went and I unplugged the harness and for the TPS sensor, plugged it back in. Now I don't have the bog anymore. The light is still on. But maybe I can just clear the code. This is the throttle position sensor. That's the harness. And yeah, all I did was, like I said, disconnect this and plug it back in. Yeah, so I was not expecting that. I didn't realize that even on these electronic carburetors, if there's a problem with one of the sensors, it can really make it run bad. I thought I had put something back together incorrectly. Let's see what happens. I think I reset the ECM. See if the light comes back on. Ah! Lights back on. Something is not right. I don't know if I broke that sensor when I had it out, but something not happy. That one's always going to be there. Looks like then I've got a 22. Throttle position sensor signal voltage low. Okay, I'm back at this 1 week later. And I just had a feeling there was probably some kind of physical problem with the TPS sensor. And sure enough, the little plunger in the top is gone. I have no idea where it went. But luckily I have another one that looks the same from my stash. My parts carburetor. So I'm going to try this and try not to break this one. And we should be good to go. Oh, people love these QJets. I am not a fan. If you ever tried to put one back together, it's like juggling a jigsaw puzzle or something. You gotta hold this down in place. You gotta get all of these holes lined up, and then on the bottom part of the top plate you gotta get these tubes and these free swinging jets and this stuff all to line up and to fall into place. It's damn near impossible. Okay, after struggling with this for about an hour, I think it should be all back together. And we're about to find out. We fixed the TPS problem. I want to get some gas in this thing. We're on empty. And the check engine light is back. That's wonderful. Even though we changed the TPS, we still got a check engine. Oh, I'm so glad I started touching all of this. Everything was just nothing. It was not good, but it's no better now. It's only worse. Whatever I did, now everything is worse. So on the gray wire, there should be 5 volts. The black wire is the ground, and then the blue is the signal. So when I probe the gray and the black, I do get almost 5 volts, like 4.96, something like that. But then when I put the, I pulled the, I have this little tool to undo these terminals, these weather pack connectors. So I pulled out the blue signal wire, and I've got the meter on the middle terminal. So when I'm pushing on the throttle, I'm not seeing any change in voltage. Barely any. It's barely moving. I feel like there should be more. I don't know what the range is, but it would seem to me that it would have more of a range of voltage, you know, at full throttle. So I'm wondering if this other sensor is bad. It's just coincidentally I've got a broken sensor and then a bad sensor. This is saying if you have the 4 to 6 volts, check circuit 417, which is the blue, for short to ground. Which I don't have a short to ground there. I checked that. If it's okay, then it's a faulty ECM connection or ECM, which seems very unlikely to me, because why would coincidentally the ECM just go bad, or the connector, when I didn't do anything to cause that? So wondering if I should just try to get another sensor. Kind of stumped at this point. At closed throttle, the voltage is about 1 volt or less. And the throttle opening is increased, the voltage is increased to about 5 volts. I'm not seeing any of that on here. Got 0.02 and nothing. Nothing's happening. So I think it's got to be the sensor. So I'm going to order another sensor and do this whole dumb routine again, which takes like 2 hours. Take the top of the carburetor off and change the sensor and put it back. And if that doesn't work, then we're just going to LS swap it. See you in about a week. So I decided to check one more thing. Took everything apart and I have the sensor free in my hand. Got it all probed out. So guess what? Now when I push in the plunger, it works. This whole thing has been kicking my ass all up and down the street all day. So now we have 2 broken TPS sensors. So I took this off and yeah, so what was happening was the plunger part was a little bent off to the side, and I guess this little piece here was not actually making contact with it like it should. So I tried to bend it straight, and of course it snapped. So then I kind of stuck it back in there, and it was kind of holding, and I figured, well, if I get everything all lined up in place, get that in, cover it, maybe it'll just stay. So what happened was I tried to put it on, it didn't go on, and then the little piece jumped into here, which is no good because when you open the throttle, boom, right into the engine. So trying to dig it out for about 15 minutes, couldn't get in there, so I just had to vacuum it out. It's gone. Got to get a new sensor, and yeah, hopefully I don't break the third one. We'll see. Lately my weeks have been so busy, I only get time to do anything with the cars on the weekend. So it's been a week since the last part of this video. I broke 2 throttle position sensors. I ordered a new one from Rock Auto. Walker Cutlass 5.0 throttle position sensor. What do they send me? A mass airflow sensor. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. I just went through the whole thing with the Camaro where I ordered the rear track bar and they sent me a Toyota bumper. This is the second time. I mean, what is the deal with this place? I can't use this place anymore. I don't know what happened to them. For years, I never had this problem. So here we are. Now we're backed up another week again. Well, I have no throttle position sensor and I can't move this car. And it's blocking in another car. So Rock Auto did manage to send me a fuel pump, which is pretty correct looking. I mean, just eyeballing it. The tubes are facing, the main fuel line seems to be the same, but the return and the vent are facing a different direction. It'll probably be okay. So what I had to do is I had to remove all the bolts for the AC compressor. You know, not the lines, just the bolts that mount it, move it out of the way. And also the AIR pump and brackets had to be removed to get to here is where the fuel pump is. And then I discovered that somebody had added one of these plastic, you know, very reliable for long term, not really, fuel filters. And it looks pretty nasty, so I'm going to be replacing that or eliminating it. I don't know. There's a fuel filter in the carburetor. So, yeah, I'll either put a hose and bypass that, or I'll get another filter, metal one, maybe. So I got everything apart, and I'm out of time today. So I'll come back another day, put this fuel pump back in, put everything back together, and then hopefully by then I'll found the throttle position sensor. So it's been about another 5 or 6 days. Got the fuel pump bolted back in. I went and got a new filter, replaced that one that was all corded up down there so I can hook the lines up, and then just putting everything back together. And they also sent me the correct throttle position sensor finally. Looks like the right one. It's all back together. I gotta put that hose back on. The air pump and the belt and the AC compressor and the belt are back on. The fuel pump is in. I've been out here for probably 2 hours, maybe more, 2.5 hours. Could not get this throttle position plunger to operate. And this has just been the problem all along, ever since I took this apart and tried to put it back together. This time, I've never had this problem. All this time, I've had this carburetor apart many times. And this is the third throttle position sensor I've gotten there. I finally got the plunger plunging. What was happening, it was just getting stuck down. It was binding on something. It might have been the gasket. I've trimmed the gasket multiple. I changed the gasket. The new gasket is all torn, but I've been trimming it, and getting this little plunger aligned with the plunger in the air horn it's damn near impossible. I don't know why it's been so difficult, but I think I finally have it. All right, so what I had to do in order to get this TPS plunger to actually work right is I had to remove, there's a roll pin right here that comes up, and then this one here comes this way. It releases this arm. Got the arm out of the way. I had to really clean the little plunger pin. I greased it with white lithium grease, and then it was so slippery it kept falling out, so I had to go with just regular Vaseline petroleum jelly to lubricate the pin so it would move freely. And after taking the air horn plate on and off about 10 times, I finally got the alignment right, where the plunger was hitting the plunger on the TPS sensor, the little plastic plunger. And now it's finally operating the way it should, because before it was just binding and it was getting stuck down, and the TPS was reading the wrong voltage because it was just stuck down. So we should be good to go now. Getting a code 21. 21 is throttle position sensor signal voltage high. So before we had signal voltage low, now we have the new sensor and we have signal voltage high. So on the signal wire, the blue wire, I'm getting 4 volts, and when I move the throttle, nothing is changing. So that means to me that there's still a problem with the plunger. Even though it seems that the plunger is working, it seems like the plunger is being pushed in, like it's stuck in somehow. Something is binding again, causing the plunger to be stuck all the way down now, which is causing in the high voltage signal. I just don't understand. I just don't get it. So here we are for the millionth time, taking this apart again, pushing on the plunger. Nothing. Brand new defective throttle position sensor. Thanks again, Rock Auto. We'll do it all over again. Another week later, and another TPS sensor from Rock Auto. So put the probe in. This time I'm doing it before I even put in the carburetor. I just took it right out of the box, plugged it in. So it's coming up like 5. So as I push the plunger, you can see the volts vary the way they should. It should be, I think, 0.41. in resting position. So that's when it's in here. But it's doing the thing, you know, like it should. Unlike the other one where you pushed it and nothing would change. Okay, we're all back together. Gonna go start it up, see what goes wrong next. What I did to deserve all this, but of course, got the light again, and it's running pretty shitty, pretty bad. So I'm probing the TPS signal, and at closed throttle, I believe it's supposed to be like 0.41 volts. We're way high. I wonder I'm getting the light. At least we're getting a varying signal now as I move the throttle, but this should come to rest way lower than that. So after all that, I think what I found was the plunger part of the throttle position sensor was getting hung up in the bore of the carburetor. The replacement one doesn't quite fit, of course, like the original one did. So I had to take this roll pin out, this one out, get this arm off, and then I was able to get in the shaft there with the screwdriver, and I was pushing it around, and finally it moved right into place. So now we're reading 0.93, which is still a little bit high, but I guess what I'm doing is I'm going to start the car and see if it throws a code or not. Well, it's been running for a while, no check engine light yet, so hopefully we might be good finally. I don't even know where to begin to wrap this one up. This was just crazy. One of the craziest things I've ever dealt with. And I've been working on it for months, so I don't even know how it started, but I was trying to see if the carburetor was leaking or if the fuel pump was bad, why it's so hard to crank over, and that still seems to be the issue. But broke many throttle position sensors along the way. Seems like we finally got it to the point where it's working okay. So we're gonna call this done. Anyway, this is probably a ridiculously long video, but thanks for hanging in. I guess we'll see you next time soon. My next thing on here I would like to do soon is I want to patch this door. I had glued this as a temporary because I just didn't like looking at the hole down here, but I'm going to cut this out and weld in some new metal and fix the paint, and that'll be the next thing. So hopefully see you soon with another video. Thanks for watching.